Test, test. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Just doing a testing my equipment today, getting set up. I'm planning on doing a lot more streaming in the future. Can anybody out there hear me? Please sound off in the chat if you can. Can't hear anything. Okay, give me just 1 second here. Testing my equipment today, getting set up. I'm planning on doing a lot more streaming in the future. Can anybody out there hear me? Please. Okay, cool. Very good. How are you? I think there's like a delay for some reason. I'm trying to sort that out. Can you still hear me okay? Sound off in the chat if you can. Outstanding. Well, listen, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's just kind of something I threw together real quick. I used to be a streamer. If you don't already know who I am, I used to be on a UFO show called UFO Man. I did that for a number of years. I've interviewed I don't know how many people in ufology at this point. Again, this wasn't like a planned stream. It was just something that I just kind of put together real quick. I'm more or less just breaking out my old setup and making sure everything works because I do plan on doing a lot more streaming in the future. I have a feeling things are going to get very interesting in terms of ufology and what's about to happen. Oh, really? Have you? That's interesting. I had one in it's back in 1990. I was 19 years old. In fact, it was the night that Mike Tyson was beaten by Buster Douglas, for the first time in his career. There's a reason I know that. It's a long story. I've even written a book about this, but I had a situation in northern Iowa years ago in '90, where I was out in the commercial cornfields racing my car, where there's no houses, no people, there's nothing but roads, and I ran up on a UFO. I ran up on an alien spacecraft that was clearly in trouble, and two smaller ones rolled up next to it, repaired it, and they all left together. I didn't have a choice as to watch it because whatever they were doing shut my car completely down. But yeah, please share. Hmm. Well, if you look at humanity's track record, I mean, it's pretty bad. It's pretty brutal. I mean, the only thing that we've really done effectively as a species, to be honest, is kill each other. Wow. How long did it stick around? How long did you witness this? Oh, I'll bet. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, pilots are up there with, flying around with these things. And I mean, I'm quite certain that it's always been, something that would, if a pilot were to see something, look at what happened to that Japan pilot back in the, what was that, the 80s, I guess it was. That cargo pilot at Hideki, I think his name was. Anyway, look what they did to him. He reported what he saw. He had people with him, two other crew members, reported that big UFO. It was such a big deal over Alaska that they woke Reagan up. He was president at the time. They woke him up out of bed. Now it takes a lot for them to do that with the president. But yeah, but he came forward with his story, and they all saw it, and they were reporting on it in real time, radio contact, and they crucified that poor guy. I mean, they absolutely destroyed his career, made him a desk jockey for the rest of his career, the whole 9 yards, and even scared the other two witnesses into basically recanting, their story of what they saw, even though they were, reporting it in real time when it happened. Oh, really? That's interesting. I've never seen one while flying. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you my story. Um, I I was It was 1990. I was 19 years old. I was living with my girlfriend in northern Iowa. This is like this little town where she was going to school. That If you walk outside the town, there's nothing but commercial cornfields as far as the eye can see. I mean, just rolling, just tens of thousands of acres, right? And these aren't the kind of farms or grows where there's like farmhouses and stuff. There was none of that. Um, but out there, they actually have to create really nice roads so they can get the equipment in and out of the fields and haul the product out and stuff like that, right? So these roads out there are pristine. Nobody's around. I was a 19-year-old kid with a hot car. So I would take my girlfriend was working at night. She would work at Target, and the Target back then was a lot different than they are now. This was just like a little retail store, no food, no groceries, anything like that. Anyway, so she would get off at 10 o'clock every night on the nose, and I'd get bored waiting for her. So I'd go out about 9 o'clock behind this Target about a mile or so. It's where these cornfields were in these roads. And I'd run my car and race it. Did this all the time, man. And then one night, it was the night of Mike Tyson's fight with Buster Douglas, where he lost. She and I were going to have like a little private party, if you will. We're going to do the hibachi thing, have a few drinks. I mean, I was 19, but no one ever carded me. Besides, this was a college town anyway. So anyway, like I say, I would go out there and I would run that car on those roads, real nice roads. And it was that night, the night of the Buster Douglas fight. About 9:30 or so, I got bored and I was waiting on her to get off work, so I went out there and started racing the car, jamming the stereo, that kind of thing. And I'm headed down this road that I've run down probably 100 times at this point. I was getting on it pretty good, and all of a sudden the car started kind of shimmying, like this. And this is a new car. This car's got 3,000 miles on it. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I looked down, and my gauges were okay at the moment. And then I don't know why I got this in my head, but I thought, it's an earthquake. It's a friggin' earthquake. So I'd never been through an earthquake before, being a Midwesterner. No, it was actually a Trans Am. Good guess, though. Anyway, so I stopped the car as fast as I can, and I jump out because I wanted to feel this earthquake on my feet, right? And as soon as I did that, the car started shaking and shimmying and missing, and all of a sudden just died. And when I say it died, what was odd about this is, we've all had our car, the engine die on our car, okay? But you still got the lights and all that, going on because you're, pulling power from the battery. Nah, not this time. Completely killed the car dead, no lights, no nothing. I'm standing there with the door open to this car, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I've killed this car. What's my father gonna say? Because I'm a kid, and my dad bought me the car. And anyway, as I'm standing there thinking what to do, something catches my eye, and I look up, and I'm facing basically north, and I look up, and there is this giant orb, real dark red orb. I mean, it looked big. I couldn't really tell because there's nothing compared to, but it looked huge. And I could honestly, my brain went through like a Rolodex of what it could or couldn't be. And there's no way. It's not a Chinese lantern. It's not a blimp. It's not a balloon. It's not Santa Claus. It's not any of that. Okay, this is something totally different, and it's moving. It's moving from like north to south, right? So, as I'm watching this, I kind of turn. So now my body is now facing. I'm looking to the west, and this thing goes and it's probably it's probably 700-800 yards in front of me, several thousand feet in the air, but it's moving very slightly from north to south. So it kind of is, when it gets to about, I would say, again, I'm facing west at this point, gets to about my, I don't know, 2 o'clock position, this thing just drops and loses about half of its altitude, and then just stops dead, stops. I'm like, what the hell is this? Then it starts to emit this it's almost like molten metal or molten material out of it. And it was so bright that I couldn't look directly at it. I had to like shield my face. And I'm like watching this shit come out of the bottom of this thing or wherever from the paint job of my car. Okay, that's how bright this crap was. It lit the sky up. At this point, it's 9:30 at night, and I'm telling you, it lit the sky up like it was noon on a sunny day. That bright. And it did this, I don't know, a handful of times and stopped. And then it started gaining altitude again and kind of traveling south at sort of an angle. Like, in other words, it was angling up as it was traveling south, if you will. So it gets to about my 11 o'clock position at that point, and then it drops again. And this time it drops so fast, I thought it was going to hit the ground. Okay, I thought, holy shit. I even braced myself because I thought it was going to hit the ground and explode, but it didn't. It stopped, and it started emitting some more of this material, this real bright material. So then it started to move again, and then something caught my eye coming from the north, and I looked over, and here comes a really small orb, really bright, about the color of the sun, I would say, and it's making a beeline right for this thing, just cruising along like that. And while I'm watching that one, another one just like it comes over, basically over my left shoulder, scared the living shit out of me. Not that I already wasn't terrified. I was a kid. I would be now. But anyway, it comes over my head, and that one really freaked me out. So what happened was, these two objects, they came together, and they basically, the one that came from the north disappeared behind the larger object. It stops moving, by the way. And then the one that came over my shoulder stopped. So in other words, picture a basketball being straddled by two ping pong balls. That kind of scale, okay? And they sat there. They didn't do anything. They just sat there and it didn't seem like it was a quick thing. It ended up being a lot more time than I thought, but I figured it was 20 minutes or so. And every once in a while, the big object light would sort of swirl in it. I guess the best way to describe it, and then it would stop. And that light thing did that, where it would swirl the light inside there 3 or 4 times, and then finally, this thing becomes exactly the same color as the other two. And then no sooner did that happen, they all three shot straight up together. And they stuck, I don't know, 15, 20,000, 30,000 feet, I don't know, but they were way up there. They were so far up that they looked like one object at that point. And then all of a sudden, boom, they all took off to the south and just disappeared. The second that happened, the lights on my car come back on, the stereo's blaring static for some reason. And I'm like, I can't believe this shit just happened, right? So I walk over to the car, and I jump in the car, and the car had a hell of a stereo, and it had those rocker buttons. You know, you push one side, the volume goes up, and the other side, it goes down. So it takes a second for the volume to go all the way down. So I said, screw it, I just hit the power button. And I noticed right next to the power button, there's the clock, and the clock is flashing 12:01. Okay, that's strange. So I'm thinking to myself, I'd love to go back into that field and see if there's any burn marks or anything, but I'm going to be late to pick her up. I'm freaked out. I don't know what the hell to do. So I jump in the car, fire it up. I remember the first time I touched that key thinking, is it going to start? And yeah, lit right up. Came around, hauled ass back to that Target store, and I started going through the presets, the electronic presets that are set on the stereo. Okay, because one of them was the college station there, and they always had news and stuff, and I was interested as to whether or not other people, had been reporting this. That's when I realized that the buttons on the stereo had been changed back to the factory. In other words, the car was completely reset. Now look, I drove this car for another 12 years and 354,000 miles. I had the battery out of it, I don't know how many times, sometimes for days. That never happened. It never reset that again. So this was serious, whatever the hell this was. So then I get to the Target store, again, real small place at the time, real little Target. Whip around the parking lot, pull it to the front, and my girlfriend's not there. All the lights are out, they're closed. I'm thinking, oh shit. Now we only lived like a mile away straight down the road in this quiet little town. So I figured maybe she walked or whatever. This is before cell phones and all that, obviously. So I run down the road looking for her, didn't see her. I get to our house and pull in the driveway, and yeah, she's home. I can tell because every light in the house is on. Okay, so I walk in the house, and there she stands at our dining room table, foot tapping, screaming at me, pissed off that she had to get her boss to come pick her up. It's like, it's only a fucking mile. Anyway, pissed off at me, talking about irresponsible. Now listen, this is only the first time I'd ever been late to pick her up. So I finally said, look, I can't be that late. And she grabbed me by the wrist like she always did and led me into the kitchen like a child. And we had one of those quintessential 1980s wall clocks with the one battery, the one AA in it. You probably had one. They had different designs. We had one of those. And sure enough, when I did the time, the whole thing, it was a little over an hour that I stood there and watched those craft do what they were doing. So I finally set her down, and I'm like, look, this is what happened. And I shared the story with her exactly the way I'm sharing it with you. And she sat there quietly and listened. And when I was finished, I shit you not, swear to God, she has the gall to look at me and say, who is she? Who is she? I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, you're with another woman, aren't you? Who was she? Somebody from the college? And I'm thinking, wait a second here. Hang on, hold the phone. I just had a UFO experience. Oh, wait a minute. I'm late to pick you up from work for the very first time, and you think I'm out with another woman. And of all of the excuses that I could have possibly landed on as to why I was late, I landed on UFO experience, huh? That was I can remember this day. I'm picturing it in my mind right now. That's when I thought it's time for me to get the hell away from you. So we go upstairs and our night is ruined, but I still wanted to watch that fight, and we had a little TV upstairs. So we go upstairs, turn on the TV, and it's like the fight is like midnight, but there's all the bullshit that happens before they, actually have the main event. So I start flipping through the channels, and I ended up, this is Des Moines, Iowa, ended up on the Des Moines, Iowa news channel, and they were talking about people seeing fire in the sky all over the state, so much that they even activated the local National Guard base. I remember looking at her, and she's like, oh my God, you weren't lying. It's like, no. Anyway. Yeah, I've written a book about this and all that, so it's out there. Again, I've told this story I don't know how many times over the years. All I want to know is what the hell is going on. And I don't even need to be spoon-fed by the Trump administration. They don't need to necessarily come out and say, hey, aliens are real. What I do want is I want to see all of the information that Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchett and all the other members of Congress that have seen this stuff in a SCIF, in a secured setting, and they're clearly freaked out by it. I mean, clearly. They are clearly freaked out by it. And I want to see what they saw, if that makes any sense. The other thing is I wanted to address with the stream. That's why I've got that article up. I keep hearing everybody come out and say that Donald Trump just yesterday has confirmed the existence of aliens. And I swear for the life of me, I watched that entire interaction and I don't know what they mean. I think what he was talking about when he referenced Obama spewing classified information, I don't think it was had anything to do with aliens. I think it was the fact that Obama was talking about Area 51. I think that's what Trump was talking about there. And everyone else in the world apparently took that to be that Donald Trump has, verified the existence of aliens. I'm afraid I don't see it that way. I don't think that's how it went down. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just taking this wrong, but if you read what he says and listen to his words, then he goes on to Truth Social and says that he's. If you notice, I wish I had that pulled up, but if you notice what he said there, it was a matter of he's he did not exactly authorizing the release of this information. Okay, the way that that's worded, it's more along the lines of, we're going to declassify what we can or whatever. Again, all I want to know is what those members of Congress saw. Show me that. Show the American public that, and let us make up our own minds. What's wrong with that? See, we have another person in the chat. Hi there. Thank you for dropping by. This actually is just like an informal thing. I'm just testing some equipment. I haven't streamed in like 3 years, so I was literally blowing the dust off my stuff. But oh, they left. I'm probably going to cut this off in a couple of minutes, Norman. But listen, I really do appreciate you dropping by, and I'm going to be I'm going to have probably a streaming evening. I think probably on Wednesdays maybe. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, that'd be great. It's Tommy Highway TV. But yeah, I'm going to get into this. Again, I walked away from YouTube 3 years ago because it was frustrating as hell. I was on a show with a guy named Tim over at UFO Man. It's also a great channel, but we weren't getting anywhere, and we were having problems, things that happened or whatever. And we just weren't getting anywhere. And it was so frustrating after many, many years that, every time we take 2 steps forward, we have to take a step back. But I really do believe at this point that Trump has kind of backed himself into a corner here, is where he's going to have to release a lot of this information. And I think that people are ready for it. The people that are going to have a problem with the fact that when they learn that we're not alone in the universe, and that there have been, advanced species coming here. I think when the people that learn that they're going to have the biggest problem with that are the people that are still wearing masks, frankly. I think most people can probably handle it. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, anyway, I appreciate you stopping by and listening to my story and sharing yours. Thank you very much for that. Like I say, I'm thinking probably late Wednesday evenings. Don't know the time or anything, but if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, it'll, I'll pop up and let everybody know. My pleasure. Thank you very much. Have a great night.